Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you all, wherever you may be. For me, it is late night Christmas Eve. Actually, about 30 minutes to Christmas for me. So, depending on how long this video is, we might be going to Christmas. But, anyways, so Passengers. So, this is the, I guess, third movie review. I guess I've actually done. I've tried doing one or two others, and they didn't quite work out. So, anyways, let's see how this one goes. But anyway, so I saw Passengers last night, along with Office Christmas Party, which I may or may not also put a review up for. But anyways, I have to say I like this. I did like the movie. I mean, it wasn't like, oh my god, it's so awesome. I would probably give it a solid B minus. And going into it, of course, there are some negative slash mediocre, nothing, I guess, like trashing it reviews, but just like meh reviews. But still, from the moment I heard about it, which I mean, there hasn't been a lot about it, but again, Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence, who I mean, both great actors, and I love them both. Um, you know, Star Lord, and you have Mystique, Katniss, whichever you want to pick. It intrigued me, and I mean, I love sci-fi in general, so the whole thought of this movie was something that really intrigued me. Whether there was good buzz or bad buzz. So, anyways, and generally, I will give this FYI. I mean, I will go see movies. I love going see them with friends, family, and whatnot. But again, with the prices and everything, I generally don't go see something by myself, as I did with this, unless it's something I really, really, really want to. So take that for what it's worth. But anyways, this is going to have spoilers, as the title says. So if you haven't seen the movie, or you are, or you don't care about spoilers, obviously, enjoy. All right. So, we start the movie. The premise, of course, is over 5,000 people are on the ship, the Avalon, on a voyage to a new planet, Homestead 2. I guess, of course, as real world, we know this planet is not in the greatest shape right now. And if things like population and pollution and things continue, we're all kind of screwed. So, we've been talking about Mars and everything for a long time. Seriously, we need to get on the wagon of getting out in space and fixing things down here as well. But anyways, I digress. So, they're on this journey, and it's supposed to be, I believe, a 120-year journey. Is that what it says? Yeah, 120 years. And about 90 years short, 30 years into the journey, there's malfunction. As I said, this is spoilers, so you've been warned. The ship, which has this automated path plotted, runs into an asteroid field. And, I guess this is a lot more than they thought the ship could take, because damage was done. And because of it, one pod, I mean, there were system damages, it has system repairs and stuff, and, it fixes itself, but one pod, Chris Pratt's, deactivates, which is said through the movie a few times, kind of annoyingly so, but still, it reiterates the point that that's not supposed to be possible. So, anyways, the first part of the movie I've heard described as kind of being 3 acts, and that really holds true. I mean, most things are in 3 acts. So for the first act, you have Chris Pratt. He wakes up. He's by himself on this huge ship. No one else. Trying to figure out what the crap is going on. I mean, he tries to send an emergency call back to Earth, which I think, I can't remember how many years it said it would take, but like round trip would be like 56 years before he even expects a response. So obviously that's not work. He tries to get in the command center. He doesn't have authority, and just, shenanigans. He tries to get, he's, I guess, just like your coach class. So, I mean, he gets into his daily routine, bland food and this and that. And then, at some point he's like, fuck it, crashes into a VIP gold member suite and all that stuff. And anyways, you know, a year passes where he's by himself on the ship, except for the robots. One of which is a android bartender played by Michael Sheen, who is you might know him as a few things: the head of the Volturian Twilight, the head of the werewolves in the Underworld, the original trilogy of the Lycans. A great actor. And I mean, there wasn't much he did, but for his character, I liked his role. Anyway, so all he has is this android to talk to, and you see how he just, I guess, kind of starts going crazy, getting depressed, goes for a spacewalk, and, enjoys it, and then he thinks about ending it all. And, I mean, he just goes crazy. Basically, again, castaway in space, kind of. And instead of Wilson, there's the bartender. But otherwise, he's by himself. He's stranded. So, anyways, as he's considering ending his life, I mean, he stops himself from doing it, comes in and back out of the airlock, and there's this bottle that he was drinking, and he trips over it. And when he comes to, he sees Jennifer Lawrence's character, Aurora Lane, her pod, and basically he falls in love with her. I mean, he finds out more about her, and she's a writer and all these things, and he falls in love with this person. And so there becomes the dilemma of, I love this person, I want to know this person, and I don't want to be alone. So what should I do? I mean, he had previously tried to find some way, obviously, to put himself back to sleep, and after it was found that's impossible, he comes to the decision to see if he can wake a person up. In this case, Aurora, and he even has this back and forth diatribe with, again, I think it's Arthur's his name, the bartender, about it. The pro, obviously, he wouldn't be alone, but the con is he's basically condemning this person to losing their life, being on this 90-year voyage with him and dying before everyone else wakes up. I mean, it really, I mean, it's a moral quandary, and it makes you think. I mean, if I were in that type of circumstance, as he says to the android, if you had the power to wish one person there on your desert island, but they would be stranded with you, would you do it? Because again, who wants to be alone? I mean, it's freaking me, Christmas, for instance, and as always, sorry for the woe is me part right now, alone, and whatever. But and I always wish there was someone to share with. I mean, this is just one day, for instance, But imagine again being by yourself for a freaking year, thinking about the possibility of your whole life, and then you have this opportunity. But again, it's a double-edged sword because you're damning somebody to it. So, anyways, he breaks down and he decides to do it after talking back and forth about it. And but he makes it look like it was an accident, and that I mean, he tells her honestly that he'd been awake for a year and all, but that it was just another freak accident that her pod opened after she starts freaking out like he did at first. And over the next year, of course, the second act, if you will, the love story. They're the only two people there. They fall in love and yada 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 yada. And all seems to be going well. I mean, where he's even going to ask her to marry him. Basically, he fashions a little ring out of some precious metals on the ship. And then the android bartender tells her, because I guess he sees the moral quandary himself, And of course, she flips out. Is, I hate you. How could you do this to me? Again, which is legit, legitimate because this person just took her life. It was one thing, to think that it was a freak accident and they were lucky to have each other and everything, but to think that someone consciously damned you, that they were selfish enough to not want to be alone, which again, I mean, who of us wouldn't in that type of situation, really, if you think about it, but they're going to condemn you to lose your life because they don't want to be alone. And again, it's a double-edged sword because she might have done the same thing if roles were reversed. You don't know. But anyway, so then of course the third act comes where there are major problems with the ship, major problems, and then Lawrence Fishburne wakes up, Morpheus. I always love seeing Lawrence Fishburne in whatever he is. Again, be it Morpheus, be it Perry White in Man of Steel, uh, his role in The Colony. Various films. He's one of those actors that has that gravitas. You always love seeing Lawrence Fishburne around, and looking forward to whatever his role may be in John Wick 2. For instance. But anyways, the only thing I will say is that, and I understand it's the story, but there's only just a tad of his character, and he dies because apparently when his pod was damaged and woke him up, it screwed him up royally. So you have the three of them running around trying to figure out what's going on, and then realize that he's dying, and he dies. And then, Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, their characters, finally figure out what's wrong in the sense, as I had mentioned before, the asteroid failed, something pierced the ship. And I guess for the past 2 years, it's been venting little bit by little bit, and it's been getting worse and worse, and it triggers the whole ship to shut down, many times, and they'll come back on, but there are problems galore, so they have to figure out what they're going to do. And even though, at this point they hate each other, or she hates him, they don't hate each other, he's always loved her. She hates him, but she still loves him, and then they've got to work together to fix it out, and she realizes, of course, she can't live without him, really. So, it comes to the point where he may make a sacrifice for her so that she may live, and so that the entire crew and passengers of the ship may live. And of course, it all works out. She saves him, or they save each other, and he discovers that with the captain, the deck crew leader, Lawrence Fishburne's character's ID, because they all have these little ID bracelets that allow them to do things and says what their status on the ship is, if you will. They are able to turn this medbay pod basically back into a cryotube, which I guess they couldn't both get in because someone has to activate it from the outside, I guess. So, he says, you go back to sleep and I'll be fine for the rest of my life. And she chooses no because she loves him. And, the end of the movie is, of course, you see the ship gets to Homestead 2, and the new crew wake up. Oh, I forgot. There's one point where Chris Pratt plants a tree, a real tree, in the middle of this, steel metal, ship, courtyard area, and I guess you see it's implied that from their lives together, they expanded on it. It becomes a whole little forest area. It's got a whole water well way, and different things. You see the robots that manned that were like the waiters in the restaurants in the ship and stuff, picking fruit and stuff. And it's a cute little a nice little scene and everything, which of course it makes you think in a sense, what in the world did they do other than that for the remaining, like I said, 80 some odd years, I guess they never had children, or if they did have children, what did they do? You know, if they had kids, that they let the kids grow up a bit and then put them into cryo, or like I said, did they just live their lives and knowing they would die out? And of course, Jennifer Lawrence as a writer, her Aurora, her character, basically writes a book, a story of their lives during it, and leaves it for the crew. But anyways, like I said, overall, I enjoyed the movie. I really did. Like I said, I would give it a, like I said, a solid B minus. And again, is it the most fantastical movie? No. You know, it's a great sci-fi epic. No, but it has, I think, a lot to say again about the human condition, and it is thought-provoking again because we as human beings, we need each other. I don't care who you are. To say you don't need anyone is bull. Is total BS. Everyone needs someone. And like I said, if you are thrust in that situation, and like I said, there are maybe a few exceptions of people who don't care for others and get along without them. But for the most part, humanity needs other people, some sort of contact, compassion, or whatever. And, again, it just really makes you think, if I were in that type of situation, what would I do? Like I said, could I be selfless and live my life out and die all alone? Or would I condemn someone else to my fate as well, so I'm not alone? It's just really thought provoking, and it's kind of representative again of the choices we have to make in life in general. Good, bad, we are always responsible for what we do. But as my mom and others so fondly remind me, because it's not that, because I, like many, haven't made the greatest choices in my life. What we do, everything we do affects other people. And again, that's part of the rub, because nobody, unless you have no family, no friends whatsoever, and essentially in a vacuum, what you do is going to affect someone else on some level. In this case, the person you wake up, or the remainder of the crew. So anyways, that was my review and my thoughts on Passengers. Honestly, I think I could actually see getting this. I mean, like, seriously, getting the video, and there are only so many, well, I don't know if I can even say that anymore. I say so many videos I actually get, but I bought so many more recently. It's ridiculous. Um, but anyways, still, it's a movie I could see wanting to watch again, just to, the nuances, maybe see little nuances of the story that I may not have noticed before. But anyways, I would suggest, if, you got some cash around, you know, not maybe like, again, spend all your money, night show, whatever, but like as a nice matinee movie. It's weird, but heck, I could even see it kind of be a date movie. you know, um, I think it's something that, you know, must you go out and run and see it? No, but is it worth seeing? Yeah. Is it worth owning? Perhaps. To me, I think it would be, because I could see myself watching this again. Anyways, that's my thoughts, my reviews. As always, like, dislike, comment, subscribe, share. Y'all know the drill. Peace. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. See ya.